board member coming on board, and we're super excited for both. We'll take the time during our organizational meeting to appoint a president and a vice president of our board and those kind of organizational things. So we'll start with roll call from Mr. Robson.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Here.
Mr. Funk? Here. Mrs. Walker?
Here.
And Mrs. Newman?
Here. Please stand and join us for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So everyone here tonight that's going to present or is going to get your yellow belt will be speedy on this part of our meeting. Then we'll adjourn, and then we'll open up a whole brand new meeting where we'll have to say the Pledge of Allegiance all over again, and then we'll get to all the fun stuff. So the first thing that we would like to do is we would like to issue the oath of office to our newly elected board members, Mr. Justin Funk and Mr. Roberto Perez, or Bob Perez. So if you guys would like maybe come in the middle here, and Mr. Robson will issue the oath of office.
Would you like to do them together or separate?
Yeah. Be faster together, right?
Together. Okay. So I'll just have you repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Justin Funk,
Perez,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Board of Education in the Olmsted Falls City School District, counties of Cuyahoga and Lorraine, State of Ohio, to the best of my ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect, and hereafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office, and until my successor is chosen and qualified.
So Mr. Perez will now sit in his seat here at the table, and we're super excited to have him on board. We're super excited to have Mr. Funk back, and these are very exciting times. So it's good work, but it's hard work, and we're super glad that they're with us. So next, we'll elect a board president for our Board of Education. At this time, whenever you're ready, Mr. Robson, we're gonna, I'll take a nomination from the board for president of the Board of Education for 2024.
I would like to nominate Bill Eckenrode.
Are there any other nominations for president for the Board of Education? Mr. Robson, when you're ready, you can call the roll.
Do we need
Well,
to call the roll on nominations, or since
So-
that was the only one there,
Yes.
we close them?
Oh, so our nominations are closed. We have a second from Mr. Funk. Do we need that, like, or just,
No.
we don't,
Right.
now we,
Now we just vote on
Would you
the
like to,
nominations on
so issue a motion for that. A motion to nominate Mr. Phil Eckenrode for president for 2024. There you go. We'll get it right eventually. Whenever you're ready, call the roll, please.
Okay, Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Funk,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
yes.
Mr. Eckenrode,
Yes.
and Mrs. Newman.
Yes, very much so, thank you. So, it takes a minute, Mr. Ackenroy and I are going to change seats. It's quite a bit of musical chairs.
Do you, Phil Eckenrode, President of the Olmsted Falls City Board of Education, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as President of the Board of Education of the Olmsted Falls City School District, Counties of Cuyahoga and Lorraine, State of Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office until your successor is chosen and qualified.
I will. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robson. Welcome to our new board member, Mr. Perez. Thank you for being here. Bob's been interested in our board for a while now, and it's nice to have community members who come and learn about what we do here before taking this on. I wish I would have done that before I signed up. I think Bob knows what he's getting into probably better than most new board members, so welcome. Welcome back to Mr. Funk as well. And thank you to the board for electing me to this position. I'm very excited. And lastly, thank you to Mrs. Newman for her many years of service as board president. She oversaw this body during some very interesting times. Unfortunately, and thankfully for the past couple of years has been probably a more enjoyable time as board president than the previous few years were. So thank you, Holly, for all that you've done for this board and for our school district. So, one round of applause for Holly. And with that, we'll move to agenda item 6A, which it seeks a nomination for vice president for the school board. Do I have a nomination for vice president?
I would like to nominate Mrs. Kelly Walker.
Seconded.
Are there any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none, nominations are closed. I'll accept the motion to appoint Mrs. Walker as vice president.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Robson, when you're ready.
Mrs. Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Funk,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
and Mr. Eckenrode.
Yes, motion carries. Bet you can guess what's coming next.
There's only 7 more. So.
Yeah.
To you, Kelly Walker, Vice President of the Olmsted Falls City School Board of Education, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as Vice President of the Board of Education of the Olmsted Falls City School District, Counties of Cuyahoga and Lorraine, State of Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is chosen and qualified.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Moving on to item 8A on our agenda. This is the, right now, tentative calendar for our upcoming meetings for 2024. Obviously, these may be subject to some change as we go along. Does anybody have any of these in the first 3 or 4 months at least that we know are going to be an issue that we need to doodle? Okay. Obviously, if anything comes up, shoot an email around and we can reschedule any of these, but it looks like, at least for the first quarter or so, we should be good to go, so that's great.
Do we have to take action on this? Do we take action on this?
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, I was writing something. I am out of town on February 1st. Would you choose to have a work session?
We are going to have the work session. We're going to need a work session for February, so.
So I am not in town on February
Okay.
1st.
Maybe one where.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna need to doodle that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, just given the conversation that the three of us had, that's what I just indicated to Bill.
Okay.
We should still vote on it, and then, know that we're gonna have to doodle that one.
Yeah.
We're gonna,
Okay.
we're definitely gonna do that.
Okay.
Have all board members present.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to accept this apparently tentative calendar for 2024.
So moved.
Send out and say, you choose which day and times you can be on. So it's a P-O-L-L.
Mr. Rupp.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez? Yes. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes. Motion carries. Item 9 on our agenda, 9A, is every year we appoint what's called the legislative liaison for the board. This is the person who spends a little extra time than the rest of us kind of keeping up on what's going on at the State House, what's going on in Washington as it affects our school district and what we do here. I will, this is a nomination or is this just an appointment?
That's an appointment.
Appointment.
Mrs. Walker has done this in the past, and
Is Mrs. Walker willing to continue to be the
I am
legislative?
willing to continue.
Thank you very much. Item 10A on our agenda is approval of the 2024 expeditious transactions resolution. So for the public and the board's reminder, Ohio law allows a body such as this one to take certain actions under a consent agenda. So things that are required to be voted on by law, but you don't want to hear read out every single one of them because they're, quite frankly, not terribly interesting or controversial. Every contract that has to be approved, certain expenditures that have to be made. Ohio law allows us to do that by what's called consent agenda, which means we still vote on it technically, and they're all publicly available, and the public can see what we're voting on ahead of time, but we don't read out loud every single thing we do. That's one of the items in here in this resolution. Others are empowering Dr. Lloyd or Mr. Robson to make certain expenditures for the district under certain threshold levels, which again, is if we approved every expense of $5, we'd never get anything done. So does any other member of the board have any other comments or questions about the resolution before we take it to a vote? Hearing none, I will accept the motion for adoption of the 2024 expeditious transaction resolution.
so moved.
Second.
Brett, when you're ready.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez? Yes. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to item 11A, approval of the property tax exemption resolution. Brett, you want to just give us a quick primer on what this is?
Right, so we can request through this action here from the tax commissioner of the state of Ohio to be notified anytime that there's a property owner who is seeking to move that parcel or parcels into a tax exempt status. So by, this being our request, then it'll be sent down to Columbus. They'll continue to notify us of that action
And this is something we have to renew every year.
every year.
And there's no significant changes from year to year. Any members of the board have questions or comments? And we did approve this as well. By vote, so I'll accept the motion for approval of resolution identified in 11A.
Second?
Kelly Hall.
And Mr. Funk.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
And Mrs. Newman.
Yes.
Yes.
And Mr. Eckhart.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12 on the agenda is our annual appointment of a designee for purposes of public records training, public records requests. As the public may know, they can send in requests to the school district or any other governmental entity seeking certain information. The board appoints one person to kind of be the gatekeeper and facilitate responding to all of those things. Mr. Robson has served in that role since he came on here, and is going to continue to serve reluctantly in that role. No?
Not reluctant.
Okay.
The other thing this does, Mr. President, is we are all required, including board members, to go through public records training. For board members, it's once per term, so every 4 years. Either you can attend the training, or this action here designates me to attend the training also on your behalf. So I just make sure, actually I sit through that training every year because it's so interesting and exciting. But I put your name in then as the fact that I'm attending on your behalf as well.
And you do a great job. That does not
I think it does require action.
require action. Okay. I will accept the motion to appoint Mr. Robson as the public records training designee per Ohio Revised Code 14943.
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? Anybody? No? Mr. Robson, when you're ready.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Eckhart.
Yes, motion carries. And with that, I will accept the motion to adjourn the organizational meeting as of 6:20.
Second?
Mr. Robson, one more time.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Mr. Eckhart.
Yes, motion carries. We are adjourned as of 6:20. Our organizational meeting.
Can we get a picture real quick of family?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then we can start the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're gonna take like a 2-second recess, right, to do a picture with Bob.
Who walks them?
Well, we can do it during the break. We got the break early on.
I know, yeah, we have a break early on, and we have cheesecake.
So they staying for the cake?
Oh, stay for the cheesecake? Yeah.
Just barely made it. Just perfect.
It's there. All right,
so we'll do a break.
we're gonna wait, so.
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. We'll get there in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I will now call our regular meeting to order at 6:22. Mr. Robson, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mrs. Newman?
Here.
And Mr. Eckhart.
Here, please stand one more time.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, please get. Okay, item 2A is
This is me.
this is you. Take it away.
Yes, take it away. Hi, everyone. Real quick, we have to present some of our senior high school students with their Lean Six Sigma certificates and their awards. For those in attendance who have no idea what I'm talking about 2.5 years ago, we started a program through Baldwin Wallace College in partnership, and it, thank you. And it came to fruition after a meeting that Dr. Lloyd had, where we had heard about Baldwin Wallace working with Vitamix to provide training for their employees to earn what's called Lean Six Sigma, their yellow belt. And so we reached out to Baldwin Wallace and said, do you think this would be something that would be applicable for our high school students? And they said, well, it's never been done before in the country. We've never actually thought about that, but let us get you in touch with Orion, which is a program where they have master black belts that come out to businesses and train employees. So we hooked up with Steve Wall, who works for Orion, and he said, I would be happy to try this out. So about 2 years ago, we had our first cohort of students that went through the program, and were the first in the United States as high school students to earn their Lean Six Sigma yellow belt. And so we are very happy that we've been able to grow the program over the last couple of years. Instead of one cohort, we have 2 cohorts each year. We start with our seniors in the fall, and then this spring, starting in February, we'll have our 5th cohort, which will be juniors. This is a highly sought after certificate. You can earn your yellow belt, your green belt, and then your black belt. Does it go right to the black belt? Okay. And so it is something some of our school board employees have this Lean Six Sigma yellow belt. It is in industries at Vitamix. They have lean teams. These students are able to go and actually take field trips to corporations that implement this. Some of our cohorts have been to Fairview Hospital, the Cleveland Clinic. They've been to Key Bank, which uses the Lean Six Sigma. They have been to, trying to think of
Lincoln Electric.
Yes, Lincoln Electric, which was a huge one. Lincoln Electric's, Fastenal. And so we're working for Vitamix, and we're working for this spring to have our cohort attend a couple other ones. So again, it's a really impressive. These students have to do a lot of work on their own. They have to attend the training, and then in order to earn the belt, they have to then present their project in front of a panel of industry people, our school board. Some of our members have sat on that. Our superintendent, who is yellow belt certified, right? You're just, yeah, okay, just making sure. Oh, you're green, sorry, green. So anyways, so now I want to thank Mr. Spagnola's in the back. Mr. Spagnola, thanks for working on all of this with me. He had usually been the administrator who was coming with me on the cohorts, and then we decided we wanted to start getting some of our teachers involved in this. And so it was great. We had Ms. Coates with us, Dina Coates, who works in, she's a teacher in our business department. And so we're already kind of thinking about how we might be able to infuse some of this training into her business classes to allow us to maybe have additional students earn their certificates. So we had a presentation at our last board meeting, but unfortunately it was in December. We had a band, orchestra, choir concert, so there was many students who couldn't come. So I offered it up for tonight for them to come, so I'm happy to say that we have a few students here, so not all 18, because some of them were here the last time. So when I call your name, if you'll just come forward and accept your certificate and your yellow belt. Brian Willanen. Leah Kerber. I had a lot of fun with Leah. Andrew Boycinette. And Luke Ventimiglia. Did I miss anyone else who snuck it? Oh, okay, wait, come, let's see, we have Andrew Kahn, no, Matthew Clem. Sorry. And then if I can have those students real quick just go over to the nice backdrop, and we're going to do a quick picture, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Lloyd.
We're going to take a picture.
Oh, take a picture, okay.
Good work.
And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Lloyd.
Listen, it's a team effort.
Just make a green screen and then you can make whatever you want.
That's my Google.
Congratulations to the students. Thank you, Mrs. Kogan.
Is that awkward? No.
Do you have anything more on that, or are we ready?
No, nothing more on that. Thank you. So each board meeting that we have that starts around in November, I think, when we start to do this, a building brings a group of students and teachers in to come and make a presentation to the board. And the theme for this year is our benefits-based accountability system, but also within that is how we incorporate student voice into what it is that we do. And so Mr. Kurz and company from the middle school, Mark Kurz, who's the principal, along with Mr. Sislowski, who's the assistant principal, I saw him over there as well, have friends that they have brought today, and they are going to introduce the teachers that are involved along with the students who will be here as well. You have the comment? Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, we have a big crew here. So we'll do introductions as we present our slides. So we have students and staff. I'll go over here with Josiah. We'll just move as long as we're not in front of the screen. All right, my name is Mark Kurz. I'm the middle school principal. It's nice to see everybody. This is the presentation we did at the Ohio Middle Level Association Conference. The only difference is this time we added students and we included information about our principal's aspirations team, which you'll find out about. So I will turn this over to Ms. Olmenstein. You don't need a microphone.
Right. Hi, yes, okay. I'm Laura Olmenstein and I teach Spanish at the middle school in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I'm also on the PBIS core team at the middle school and a web coordinator. So when we started our presentation at OMLA, we asked the audience, who are a bunch of middle-level teachers, administrators, stakeholders, what is student voice? So to save some time, we're going to give you our main definition of student voice. Student voice is asking students their perspectives, opinions, thoughts, concerns, ideas, and insights on all things related to school, and then taking action. The key piece to this is that if you take people's information, but then you don't actually do anything with it, then you're just like making people sort of feel heard, but then nothing changes, and they're just kind of like, well, why would I tell them anything anymore because nothing ever changes. This doesn't mean that at Olmsted Falls Middle School, kids tell us stuff and we're like, all right, yeah, we'll just do that. But it does mean that we take into consideration what students' thoughts are and use that to drive initiatives that we have in our building and to improve current initiatives that we have in our building based on the lived student experience. So why is this important? We give students opportunities to share their voices, and then because of that perception data that we get, it gives students a feeling of belonging and community at our school as opposed to just being, showing up and like receiving information. They're actually like a partner in our school, and it makes students want to participate more fully in the things that we do in our school. It also, aside from providing that sense of belonging, it teaches them self-efficacy, which is a huge skill, especially at the middle school level, that we're really trying to improve upon and take with you into further adolescence and adulthood. It helps them improve their self-esteem. It helps them and their teachers learn better how they learn and how they perceive how they learn. And then it helps students feel good about being at school and wanting to improve the school environment. I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Acosta.
Hello, I'm Kelly Acosta. I teach choir at the middle school, and I'm on the DLT and the design team. One of the quotes that we have here is from Danny Steele, and he says, "We earn the respect of our students by how we treat them. It's that simple." And a lot of our teachers, or not just our teachers, but teachers everywhere, often think, I am the expert, so what could students possibly offer? We're trying to change that mindset and realize that what students have to say is also important. Students can offer their unique point of view that will give us insight into their world, and listening to students increases their sense of belonging, which is important for developing self-worth.
Okay. I'm Kate Lamarca. I teach language arts and social studies in 6th grade. I'm also a member of the DLT and our design team. So it's great to be here in front of you to talk about logistically how we do that. So it sounds good to talk about student voice, but to actually gather data from 900 students is really difficult. So we have a few ways that we've started to do this, and our favorite way is through student focus groups. So some of our student focus groups have been randomly selected or intentionally selected based on certain criteria that has been gathered from one-question surveys we've done with students, especially on the inclusivity of our school or possibly grade level specific information. Our general questions when we first started doing this early last year, maybe 2 years ago, were what are your hopes and dreams for this school year? What are your hopes and dreams for high school? What are your hopes and dreams for the rest of your life beyond high school? And how can we improve? You can see a variety of answers here, both academic and non-academic, but some of our 6th graders wanted to learn to express themselves better. Some 7th graders were hoping to learn more about animals and begin their path to engineering. And our 8th graders, at the end of the year, were reflecting on their school experience at the middle school. And they wanted to get more involved in school activities, get closer with their friends, and make more memories. Okay. Some of our more recent focus groups have been focused on the things that we're working on in our DLT. And one of the activities we did as a DLT was talk about things that we want to keep, things that we want to start anew, and things that we want to stop. So we asked the kids, because who better to hear how we're doing but the people who live it every day. And we've asked them to reflect on what's different about this school year specifically, and if it's made a difference in the culture and the feel in our building.
So we have some sample responses here, and you'll see some things are just like, don't punish us. But then there are other things that we have actually implemented towards the bottom of the list here. Like, we now have 3 microwaves in our lunchroom. We had no idea that that was something that the kids wanted. So we got one, and then there was a line every day. So they said, can we get more microwaves for the lunchroom? So Mr. Kurz made it happen. We allow the kids to wear pajama pants. A lot of kids don't, but there are several kids that are more comfortable that way, and so, hey, they're gonna wear their pajama pants. And then allowing students to chew gum is a big thing. They were not allowed until this school year to chew gum in the middle school, and now it's a thing. So do you like that, guys? Yeah, see, all right. So we can't give them everything they want, like obviously longer lunch periods may not be something feasible, but we can always look at things and determine what can we adjust and make it happen for the kids.
Hi, I'm Mike Sislowski. I'm the assistant principal. Mark and I have worked together now, I think, almost going on 10 years, and I'll say this, nothing has changed our careers, I think, more than listening and understanding the power of student voice. We've had a lot of conversations in our offices over the years, and the power that listening to kids has given us and us allowing that to empower us in the building the last year or two, I think we both tell you it's just changed our career path, it's changed coming to work every day, it's just been really enlightening. We talked about the focus groups, and that's one powerful way that we do take student voice, but there's a lot of other things that happen. I think there's a focus on our staff just to talk to kids more, have conversations in the hallway. Before school at Olmsted Falls Middle School, from 8:15 to 8:30, it's like a track. Kids are walking everywhere together, and the coolest thing over the last year when that behavior kind of started, staff members now are walking with kids or standing in the hallway and kids are approaching them, and it's just open conversation that can be really powerful in our school building. We talked about the principal's aspiration team that started last year and has brought so many new ideas and things for us to consider. We do surveys with students, and I'll tell you, one of the best ones we do are the one-question surveys. You ask kids one question, something you want to know, get a better understanding, and the kids answer them, that we get like 700, 800 responses, and it's really powerful stuff. Last year, we did a classroom circle up, and that's just if there's something going on in the building. Maybe it's something in life, maybe it's, last year we talked about school discipline, and we have PBIS meetings where we as staff members talk about discipline all the time and what's going on, and we finally decided one time, like, let's ask the kids why we have more discipline referrals on Wednesdays. Well, maybe they'll have some insights that we didn't consider. So every class took 5 minutes, and we gave them the discipline data that had been happening over the course of the year, and the kids talked about it and gave us great ideas for things, reasons maybe why some days are harder than others, and things that maybe we could do that would help make that better. Student-led conferences is something that the middle school has always done, and again, it's just another chance to let the students drive conversation rather than the adults.
So as we started doing this work, one group of people who we felt like we weren't hearing from were the parents. And parents are really important stakeholders. They have a right to have a voice in their child's education and what happens for the 7 hours they're at school. So at student-led conferences, you can see pictures of this. We asked every parent to fill out their hopes and dreams for their child. And I think what struck us members of the DLT most was that the paw prints didn't have, I hope my kid gets straight A's, or I hope they keep their 4.0 GPA. It was, I want my child to be a good person. I want my child to fit in. It's what we all want for our children, but to see them lined up at the middle school is really powerful. We've gone and talked with parents at PTA meetings. We've asked parents what they would change about the middle school, and we've sent home some family surveys for reflection as well.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about why student voice is important. Student voice is important because students get a chance to discuss with trusted adults what they think could result in a better school. It would make students more comfortable with sharing things and gives them a chance to comment on what they, the students, think would be a better fit for them in an environment that would not judge them and would listen to what they have to say. Kind of fitting in with this, where the teachers will kind of listen to what the students have to say, but they'll actually act instead of just like listening and saying, okay, we might do something about this, but they're actually doing stuff now instead of just listening to the students. They're actually reacting to what they have to say.
Who wrote that quote, Robert?
Me.
That's Robert Sharp. That's great. Robert was randomly pulled into a focus group and gave us that quote. Like a month before we did our presentation.
Like 2 months ago.
Oh, somebody write that down.
For president, go, you're not.
No longer Mr. President.
Student voices. To what degree do we facilitate, promote, and value the voices of our students? It includes creativity. To what degree do we promote, model, and nurture creativity as a critical piece of well-rounded education? We also have interest focus. To what degree do we focus on and promote the areas of where students have a passion? We are aligned to need. To what degree do we align what we teach and how we teach it to our students' needs? To what degree is learning designed and tailored to our students? We are also learning to think ahead. To what degree are we able to create a future-oriented focus for our students? To what degree are we able to show students that prior, present, and future learning is connected?
Okay, so here's the definition of aspiration. Aspiration is a noun, hope. It's something that you hope to achieve and something you want to do or to achieve. Some other words for aim, goal, objective, target, dream, and hope.
Once a student shares an insight, a perspective, and/or a view into his or her beliefs about the educational process or environment, it cannot be unheard. This code is important to the council because we want every student's voice to be heard. We want everyone to feel confident and have the courage to share. We are proud that we have already made changes based on the student feedback.
Afternoon, everyone. This council was formed to ensure that our students' voices are heard, our students' opinions are valued, and our students' ideas are implemented. PAC was created to open the lines of communication between Olmsted Falls Middle School staff and our students. Our PAC students created a 5-question survey that our students completed. PAC reviewed the results and we identified several things we could do based on our students' feedback. In addition to our PAC group in their 5-question survey, we conducted many students focus groups to ask students what we would keep doing, stop doing, and start doing. Here are the things acted on based on listening to our students.
Here are some of the improvements that the council has made based on student feedback. We have made the following changes. Revisions to our dress code, added more microwaves to the cafe, cell phones and earbuds are now permitted between classes and at lunch every day. The courtyards are open to use between class periods. We can wear pajama pants any day of the week. The water fountains have been turned on after the pandemic and have been converted into water stations, and now there are gender-neutral restrooms.
Also, we had a meeting with Sam Chin, Director of Food Services, to discuss different lunch and snack options. We had club display at open campuses, dividers in boys' restrooms between urinals. Students are now allowed to chew gum at school, and Exploration Day is on January 25th of 2024.
One thing that we did in this group is we planned a Dr. Knight assembly and we did the pre and post activity. So some big ideas that were explained there was why are we building a community of acceptance and inclusion? Why do we choose to use the word humility? Why should we celebrate diversity, power of inclusion and acceptance? Make a commitment to be kind, accept each other and set up. What are the negative impact of prejudice? And then we define stereotypes and prejudice. Me and 2 other people that are now at the high school, we went in front of the whole school and explained with Dr. Knight about how we can make the school a better place.
Who introduced Dr. Knight that day? You did.
Yeah, I'm
You.
saying,
All of us. 900 kids.
Our focus for the PAC this year will be to focus in on what makes classroom learning engaging and what would make it more engaging. We will continue to look at general building cultural practices that, if changed, will help students feel more accepted, comfortable, and welcome at OFMS. We intend to have members of our PAC attend staff meetings and/or other professional development opportunities so our teachers and students can interact and learn from each other.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about student voice in the classroom. So in our school, we've worked to build our culture that's focused around student voice, but there are teachers at the middle school who are really championing this throughout the year. So Mr. Barkowski is a 6th grade teacher. He couldn't be here today, so I'm going to speak about his classroom. I'm honored to speak about his classroom because it's a place I really admire. But this is what Eric starts his year off with. He asks students, what are 3 words that you would use to describe the ideal student? And what are 3 words that you would use to describe the ideal teacher? So from that, the program that he uses generates a word cloud, and they pull out the biggest words, which are the ones that are most popular in their responses. And that's what Eric uses for kids to contribute to the tone and culture of his room. So they answer these questions, and the top attributes of the students and teachers are used to create these agreements that he has hanging outside his room. Anyone who enters room 6 sees this agreement when they walk in. And it says, we believe that a teacher should be funny, helpful, understanding, kind, chill, nice, and interactive. And Mr. Barkowski agrees to do his best to embody these qualities. We believe a student should be kind, funny, hardworking, focused, helpful, respectful, and caring. The individuals on Team Win will do their best to embody these qualities. And we believe that a classroom should feel safe, comfortable, relaxing, welcoming, happy, and caring. And everyone who enters room 6 will do their best to create this environment. So this agreement is a collaboration of student and teacher voice that is fluid. And right now, Eric is revisiting the agreement with his classes since we're back from winter break, so they can reestablish their cultural norms together. Okay, Mrs. Holmenstein.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we use student voice in PBIS. If you're unfamiliar with PBIS is a district initiative that we've had for many years, almost a decade probably. And it's positive behavior intervention supports. And we have a very active PBIS team at the middle school. And when you want students to change their behavior, you really need to value student voice. Otherwise, you as an adult are just guessing what might work instead of actually going straight to the source that you're trying to work with to find out what you want. So we did one of our one-question surveys about like a year ago now. And we said, do you like the Bulldog Buck Store? And from that survey, like 86% of our student body said, yeah, I like the Bulldog Buck Store. And we were like, awesome, good. So we're going to keep doing a lot of what we're doing. But what we decided to do on the PBIS team was take little focus groups by grade level, where we made them 75% no's. So like we took 26 graders and we made sure that 3/4 of them said no, they don't like the Bulldog Buck Store. And then we threw 25% yeses in there to try to like win them over. But we really wanted to like learn why they're saying no. And so what we found out that was very interesting from listening to the student voice was that different grade levels are really looking for different things from the Bulldog Buck Store. 6th graders are really looking for trinkets. They want like Rubik's Cubes, squishies, fidgets, like they want things that they can play with, things that when you go to Swings and Things and you're like, oh, I only have 10 tickets left, I guess I'll get that. That's what they want. So we're like, all right, we can work with that. 7th graders, they want bougie candy. They didn't like M&Ms. Okay, so they were like telling me, I want caramel apple suckers. They like really gross sounding candy. They want like smog balls. They want toxic waste. Like, so we were like, all right, we can work with this. They like really interesting candy names, yeah. And then 8th graders, they're kind of like, I'm kind of over the trinkets and the candy. I mean, yeah, every once in a while I'll get a caramel apple sucker, but I'm looking for experiences. So we have things at our Bulldog Buck Store that students can purchase, like they can pool their Bulldog Bucks with friends and we will order pizza for them for lunch. They can buy a pass for the ability to leave class a couple minutes early. They can buy a choose your seat pass that teachers will honor in any classroom in the building. So we are taking what the students are telling us in these focus groups and then using it to like empower our PBIS core team to feel like we're like not just like shooting in the dark, we're actually working with students to make sure that the rewards we're trying to give for the behaviors we're trying to have them have are like what they're looking for and will motivate them to make the best choices they can as middle school students. This is Peaches.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Coe. I'm an 8th grade math teacher. And I'm going to talk kind of along with the PAC's focus on really showing student voice in the classroom and how to further engage students. So my number one thing is that students have to have the chance. We've kind of talked about this in a lot of elements of our school, but they have to have the chance to share their ideas and share feedback. So one thing I do is I have them tell me like what is most helpful for you to learn, what things that we do you think drive your learning? And so through that, I figured out that they like to have choice. Middle schoolers, shocker, like to pick what they get to do. So in all areas of my classroom, they have some vetted part in what they want to see. So I give choice. If they have to take notes, they have like 4 different options on how they can do that. If they are doing an activity to learn linear equations, there's usually some options on how they can do that. Their assignments, I got a lot of feedback that certain kids on certain days are super busy. So like if I decided that if Tuesday's not your day to do homework, then here's a whole week. So they have their problems, they know what they need to practice throughout the week, and they get to manage their time to do that. I always tell them if your birthday's on Thursday, please don't do your homework on Thursday, do it a different day. So I just like to hear their feedback and allow that to take place. And then the biggest thing, and I've felt this on a personal level, and I think that I've built relationships through this, is that my kids know that they have been heard. So at the top, my students in each class period, because also all of my class periods are different, they told me what is important about being in a math classroom. Some of them said equal opportunities, some of them said it's just really important that they help others, respect, kindness, all of that. So those are the things that each class period has agreed that we will do. And then in terms of those activities or those choices, like they are actually doing that and they get to see that they get to do that. So, yeah.
Pause, Mrs. Coe. One more thing your class did. So, dude, one good thing that came out of the pandemic at the middle school was that we learned that we needed to separate kids at dismissal and not have 900 kids all out at one time. So we came up with this phase system where we call certain phases and built on where they are in the building, not by grade or team. Only certain classes leave at the end of the day. Well, it became like the hottest topic. Kids every single day are like yelling at me as I walk down the hall like, you called phase 2 times in a row. Like, I have no system about it. I'm just yelling numbers into the thing. So Miss Coe's math class, like, this is like, it tells you though, once the doors open and kids know that you're listening, they were like, Miss Coe, can we build with use of patterns, like a system for him to use so that everybody gets called fairly first, second, and third?
It's called Mrs. Coe's rotation of integrity.
We now call it, it's posted in the office, no matter who's doing the announcements, does Miss Coe's integrity list, and we call a certain order, and the first day that we did it, and I gave credit to them, there was like a celebration coming out of their room because they had been heard.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've shown you where we've been, and this is where we're going. And this is a leap of faith, I think, especially for Mark Kurz, and we're really grateful to him that he's willing to do this because this messed with our schedule, which is not something we like to do sometimes at the middle school, but we are having our first ever Student Exploration Day. So as teachers, we saw a need to increase student engagement on our math testing days. If you know a middle schooler sitting and taking a math test for 2 hours and then being expected to go to each of your classes in a shortened form is a special form of torture. So on those days, we needed to be creative to find a way to explore student interest, and we thought we could do that outside of our curriculum. So we polled our students recently, and they said, we asked, do you think that adults at OFMS value your opinions and preferences? The data was pretty positive, I believe. And it says, is it important for students to be able to explore their interests while at school? And that is an overwhelming amount of students who said yes. So, on January 25th, we are going to offer 8 30-minute sessions of about 30 different offerings that are things that are non-academic. So for example, easy recipes, how to sort and wash your clothes, drywall patching. We're doing a full NFL combine, the basics of aviation. We actually have 2 pilots on our staff. And a very popular with our 6th grade girls offering is cosmetology. And our high school girls who are part of the Glamour Girls Club are going to come down and teach our middle schoolers how to do makeup. So we have many other offerings like arts and crafts, and there are probably 30 for each session that they can choose from, right, Mrs. Olmenstein?
34.
34. So we have 8 30-minute blocks, and we're going to see what happens. But the kids are excited, and they are all scheduled and ready to go. But what I do want to mention, especially for parents who are sitting in the room, this day would not be possible unless we had the support of our community. We have had so many parents supporting our Amazon wish list that our front office is overwhelmed with Amazon packages. They basically have to bring them in with a dolly every day. But the support from the community shows us that they also value student voice, and I think that's a really important message for our kids, from their teachers, and from their families.
Okay, so the nerdy part. If you're interested in reading books about this, I make sure to take the pens out of my pocket. Yeah, 8:30. So when we started this, it was really organic. We started listening to students when we started the design work, and then we went into hacking school discipline, and then we went into the benefits-based accountability. So it's interesting when you do something organically, and then after the fact, you're reading professional literature that affirms exactly what we're doing is the right thing to do. So this is probably the best book, if you're interested. It has the most research. So these are just examples we shared at the conference. So that's another one from ASCD. That's just another one. And then this is just a quote from a student. If you spend 8 hours a day with in a hostile community and or a place where you feel like you cannot express who you are or what you need, it has a big impact on your mental well-being. So a lot of what I've learned through the readings I've done is that if you want to increase belonging, you involve students, you ask students to increase their self-worth, it increases their self-efficacy, and that creates a community of belonging, which is really what we want to do after the pandemic. So this is the book we use with Hacking School Discipline. Everyone knows about that one. This is my most recent, I'm an audiobook person. This is my most recent listen to, and I'm listening to Believe in People. So you go to the next slide. So this book is about not looking at people as the problem, but listening to people, listening to their aspirations and their dreams, which is why Mike and I intentionally changed the name from Principal's Advisory Council to Principal Aspiration, because we realized we're the ones that said that quote. When a student says something, you can't unhear it. You have to act on it. That's the aspirational part. So our job as a council and as a staff is to help the kids reach their aspirations, which is hopes and dreams. So that's why we changed the name intentionally. So these are the presenters. Mr. Barkowski couldn't be here, Mr. Oden couldn't be here, but that's the group presented at OMLA. And then the students forgot to introduce themselves because they were so nervous about presenting. So this is Josiah, tell me he's an 8th grader. Allison, now I gotta say your name. Allison Haroda, 6th grader. Robert Sharp, 6th grader. And Carl Sandifer, 7th grader. So we appreciate you guys coming.
I did just want, because it came up at the OMLA conference, Miss Toe, did you happen to go to Olmsted Falls Middle School?
Yes, I didn't have Mr. Sislowski, but I am a survivor of the old Olmsted Falls Middle School.
It all worked out.
Does it look anything like what it looked like when you
It did all work out, and I enjoyed my time as a middle schooler, but I would say the biggest change is the relationship between teachers and students.
Right.
When I was a student there, I was simply a student. It's not that I didn't have a voice, but it was just I was there to learn, and that was it. And I feel like now my role with my students is we are a community, we are connected, we have a strong bond and relationship together, and it's a really good place to go every day.
So it wasn't the same, I'll answer that question.
I was actually thinking about my daughter who graduated from college in May, that when I tell her, first of all, she would be amazed and she would be happy to hear about the student voice. But when I tell her that the dress code has changed, and she can have cell phone, she will be very jealous.
Listen, this is the first year I've chewed gum in that school. I did not walk in that man's office chewing.
Oh, wait a minute. Listen, I walked into a building, it's very traditional, you walk into a building, there's certain things you're expected of, but we weren't asking students. So when we did the dress code thing, so a lot of what we've changed is operational. It looks like, what's the big deal? You can chew gum, you can wear pajamas, but it's letting the kids know that we're listening to them and that we want them to feel comfortable at school. The focus now is on relationship with kids. We're not going to worry about their dress code. We're not going to worry about chewing gum. Focus on the relationship with the kids. And that's kind of what we did. And I went along with the gum chewing thing because I realized it was a sensory thing, and then I just learned this week that it helps with heartburn. So I might start chewing. But we weren't asking kids. So the best thing is all this happened because we started with student engagement and things and all the work we've done in the district, but that's, and we probably talked to almost 300 kids in focus groups last year. It was a lot, so, and then, so we have about 16 kids on PAC. These were the brave 4 that agreed to come and present tonight. I give them a lot of credit for that. So, thank you.
Oh, so from Wednesdays, I think that like the kids, I think going into it, we all assumed like it was going to be Monday, Friday, something like that. Like you're just ready. the kids feel overwhelmed on Wednesday. It's the middle, they can't see the end of the week yet. They're just kind of stuck there. It's not fresh, it's not new. So what we've come up with is a lot of different strategies to ease up on the middle of the week. We also moved the Bulldog Buck store is on Wednesdays intentionally to like kind of start the day with them thinking about earning their Bulldog Bucks and coming with candy, things like that. But yeah.
Does the board have, anybody else have any questions?
Thank you so much, guys. That was inspiring. Yeah. Really
Great
good.
job.
You guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, one more time, thank you guys.
Can our group gather over there for a photo? And parents, you can come over and take pictures.
Good job.
That's so funny. Because schools like a great job there that they do, and then they, yeah, no, but it's, but Mr. Spagnola does the, so the high school principal, they do the career fairs here, and they have people come in from the outside, and they like set up tables and do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, yeah, that's great.
We are going to take a quick recess to celebrate our new board members and all board members because it's School Board Appreciation Month, and also celebrate our students here as well because we always have too much cake anyway. So I'll take a motion to adjourn briefly. Second.
I seconded Justin's part.
Go roll.
It wasn't you. It was Mrs. Gross.
We're the biggest fan base.
And back to our agenda, item number 6A, hearing of the tax budget for fiscal year 25. Brett?
So I was hoping that Mr. Sharp, did he leave? He gave such a good presentation up there, I was going to ask him to do the tax as well. Oh, he left. He got away from me. So, January of every year, part of the first meeting of the year, there's a tax budget that we prepare and discuss and send back to Cuyahoga County, Cuyahoga being our home county, I guess I'll call it, because we do have a small piece in Lorraine as well. We get funds from Lorraine, but Lorraine and Cuyahoga talk and look at values and rates, and so I don't have a tax budget just for Cuyahoga County and one for Lorraine. It's all encompassed. So this is what we have. With this, and it's a required annual filing. With this, the County Budget Commission is able to one, certify that we still have a need for the taxes that are in effect today, and it allows them then to set the rates for the coming year and then to collect based on that need as well. A variety of schedules that go into it. Schedule 1 simply lists out all those levies that we receive, and for those funds that we receive tax dollars from, what their voted rate was, what their current effective rate is, and then what we anticipate based on that each of those issues will bring into the district. So all the operating levies that are out there that come to the general fund are listed. the 1 mil permanent improvement levy that we have out there, bond retirement funds, when we went through the facility projects years back, are there, and it also includes inside millage, which Cuyahoga County gives 5 mil to school districts. So, and that's a nice little amount. I think really statewide it's more of a 4 mil than a 5. So that's nice. Inside millage, just a little note on that. You get growth with that. So 5 mils is 5 mil. As the property values increase every 3 years, we get the full effect of that 5 mil on inside millage. Levies that were voted in, they were actually voted in to generate a set dollar amount based on that millage. So there's a reduction, typically a reduction process that goes in play there, that when values increase, the millage rate that was voted in decreases so that it brings in that same initially approved amount. So that's why you'll see that maximum rate authorized on the far right. You'll see how that's gone down from what was originally passed. So those are the current levies that we have out there today.
So of the 50 total mills, only 5 improve with increased property
Correct.
values.
Correct.
10% of the millage
Correct.
goes up. So
You'll get new millage, sure, new money on new construction. But yeah, the inside millage is really, I think, in simple form, the piece it does increase over increased valuations. Schedule 2 is where we just list every fund that's out there, if it receives property tax revenue or not. And this helps them, or they take this schedule and they give us our first official certificate of resources, and this is for 25. So this is a ways out there. So we're anticipating what our beginning fund balance is going to be. So July 1 of 2024, we think that these will be our starting balances for each of those funds. And then we break out how many dollars do we anticipate coming from property taxes or other sources. You'll see state and federal grant funds are included in there. For example, there's no tax dollars, local tax dollars associated with that. Those dollars all come from the federal government through the state. Okay. Any questions on that? If none. Schedule 3, we don't have anything that applies to Schedule 3, so that's just going to be blank as it is. Schedule 4, we're listing those issues that are out there, that debt that's out there that has to do with facilities. So we have 2 bond issues that are out there. One is a 2015 issue, and one is a 2017 issue. The combined principal balance outstanding is $25.4 million. And then they want to know how much, what is on your amortization schedule, how much are you going to owe and pay on that debt in fiscal year 25, slightly over $2 million. So we work with the county auditor every year on that bond retirement fund. And the auditor can and does, typically closer to the maturity date of those bonds, they'll adjust effective rates. So that you have enough money in that fund to retire your debt. And then secondly, too, they usually leave you a little bit of money in there, and you can spend that on other PI-related needs. But a good auditor is going to try to minimize that as best they can, yet still ensure you've got enough to retire that debt. Schedule 5, tax anticipation notes. We paid those off early last year, so we don't have anything listed on the TAN section of that. So, any questions? So the county auditor takes this. They're going to, we I guess certify our need. We communicate to them. Yes, we still do need that money, so they'll assign rates, assess, and collect then for 2025 based on this information. So once we send this in, I think it's in February, March, they'll send us back that authorization, that resolution that authorizes them to assess and collect based on the data.
Questions? Any questions from the board? Great. Thank you, Brett. Moving on to our administrative reports. PTA.
You can just kind of come up a little closer.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You
What's up? No, I'll be loud. Okay, so among our 5 PTA units, we currently have 1,418 members in the district, so good numbers as always, and we usually get a little bit more of a bump. We have some, several of the units do like breakfast buddies where we encourage, membership of males, and, family members, and we usually get some more people, because a lot of times just sometimes the moms will join, but we like to try to get more males as well to join all the units, so, it's continuing to grow. We recently had the Reflections program. In the district, we received 82 entries. PTA Council held a judging event. We had guest judges from the community, some PTA members, teachers, board member, some arts professionals from the area. And the results will be announced soon, probably in the next 2 weeks. Our new Reflections chair will get that out soon. And 28 entries have moved on to compete at the state level, so she's preparing those right now to send to the state, and they'll be judged there. We usually have some winners, so it's always exciting to see. There's some very talented individuals throughout the whole district, all the way from, we have 3-year-olds all the way up to our seniors submitting entries in all the different arts categories. Just going to give you a quick update on a little bit from each unit. The OEC PTA is planning for their summer safety town program. Registration will open at the end of February, and I hear it fills pretty fast every year. So, and then in March, I think they start looking for middle school age volunteers, and the middle schoolers do a great job working with them on that. OECPTA is also working on some community service projects and then doing some member outreach. The Falls Lennox and ECC PTA recently restocked staff break rooms with donations from PTA members. They provided holiday lunches catered by Mi Rancho for the staff in the buildings. They had a Chuck E. Cheese Dine Donate, and they have a couple more coming up, and they're bringing in some good money from that. They recently purchased additional bins to help with the Backpack Club food distribution. And they have some upcoming author assemblies at both buildings for the Right to Read Week. OFIS PTA, recently they collected over $2,000 in donations to provide Thanksgiving meal kits to families that need that in the district. And they used some of that money for some holiday wish tree items as well. So they had a lot come in. They were able to help out some of the families that need that in our district. They also provided a staff luncheon for the holiday from catered by Mi Rancho. They have breakfast buddies coming up, and they're doing a lot. They did a lot, some very successful fundraising as well. OFMS, they treated their staff to cookie and candy trays right before break. They donated $550 to the school to help fund a DC scholarship. They have breakfast buddies coming up as well, and they're planning for their dodgeball tournament in March. And the high school PTA recently just had a membership boost of 41 from their January membership campaign. They usually get a lot of members this time of year because scholarships are coming up, and we give a lot of scholarships, and they choose from members. So a family member needs to be a member of the PTA. Their building just received a 100% staff membership, which is wonderful to have that support. And they had some really successful fundraising events in December, and they're also working on their dodgeball event for February. So that's kind of a quick wrap up of what's going on right now. Anybody have any questions?
Hey, do you know when the volunteer dinner is this year?
They have not picked a date yet.
Okay.
Because I know that always gets really tricky.
Yeah, I did this last year because of the track banquet, so I wanted to get it on I'm hoping to make it this year.
Chrissy Pettit's in charge, so she said she was working on trying to find a date for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Polaris update to our new Polaris rep.
Yeah, I had my first meeting on Tuesday, so sworn in, and we also had, it was, similar type, you do what you have to do every year, which at Polaris involves, because they have a police academy, I was telling Brett this, so we had to approve the use of tasers on campus, because students have to learn how to use them. And they also, since they learn how to use in their police academy breathalyzers, we had to approve, so they have volunteers of over the age of 21 on a day come, and then they have to drink and then be tested on them. So we had to approve the use of alcohol on campus. It was new and different, but other than that, we also include meeting dates and normal things too as well. One of the things that did come up that I did speak with Brett about, there's a resolution that they're doing that we will vote on in March. I think this is just something standard they do, but they do have a board member from Berea who is not currently a sitting board member on their local district. So it's a resolution that just states the understanding that the preferred member is somebody who is currently a sitting board member. That, so I did ask Brett that if we had, I asked just to verify if we have an actual policy on how we appoint or not.
Didn't Polaris change it that you had to?
They're not allowed to.
You're not allowed?
It's in law. They can't do that.
Oh, maybe it was just they prefer.
It's not binding. It's just more of a resolution of understanding. And I got the sense that this is something they vote on every year, but I just wanted to.
Honestly, I think they changed it when we.
Yeah, well, it was Jim Weisbarth,
No.
wasn't it? He was off the board and then on it, I think.
No, it was Mr. Sherman.
So,
we were like in the credit commission at that point, so.
Yeah, so, and the resolution also includes wording about that, the understanding that the associate school districts will work with Polaris on scheduling breaks, particularly spring break. So, we vote on that in March because we don't have a February date meeting. If you would like to see the resolution before I vote on it, and if you have a comment, I can certainly forward that to you. But I just asked Brett to look at policy, just to clarify what our rules are on how we appoint, just so I know for mine. Again, it's not binding, it's just the preferred is a current sitting board member, and because they do have one who is not Berea, is employment who's not a current board member. Other than that, they are going out to bid on their LPN program, which will that's their adult program that the current students, and then with coordination with Southwest, and it will eventually feed into Baldwin Wallace where you can go on and get your RPN. It's actually, so they're going out to bid on construction. They will get their official certification at the end of the month, and then they can, in essence, advertise for it. So you'll probably hear more about that. 2 dates I just wanted to mention to you. April 9th, they have a work session. That's also their senior awards dinner. I'll attend, obviously, but if you're interested, if not, there will be news, because there's usually an Olmsted Falls student that gets recognized as like the top in some program or what have you, I would imagine. So I wanted to mention that. It's April 9th. And then October 8th, I know that's next school year, that's the associate school board dinner. So that's every other year. They invite board members and I think like superintendents and treasurers they get invited to an overall dinner where they talk about Polaris. They'll probably do more. They probably do the senior awards again that night. But if you want to pencil that in, and that's it. If there's any questions. No, I did not volunteer for the breathalyzer test.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions? Anybody? Kelly? No? Moving on to Mr. Zeller. Anything to report?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a quick minute to recognize Don Speck. As a former principal, when your fire alarm goes off and it's not planned, immediately like 1,000 different things go off in your brain. So I happened to be over at the middle school and watched how he and his staff handled the situation from today, and I thought Don did a great job of explaining things to the kids over the microphone and letting them, keeping them updated and what was happening throughout the entire process. And the kids were amazing. There's still a fourth grader out there who owes me an arm wrestling match because I said I had winners. But it was good to see because you never want to have to use the processes and things that you have in place, but then when you do and you see how things work, it just gives you an appreciation for all the planning and all the practice and things like that. So I also wanted to recognize Evan and Larry for their efforts, because they were on it right away, and you know, they were keeping us all informed. And it was really impressive to see how Mark's building helped immediately, and how everyone pulled together to, you know, obviously it wasn't something that was earth-shattering, but we had a building that was in need, and everyone pulled together to make it positive. So I thought it was really cool to see.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody have questions for Brian?
I'd just add on, the PTA got relocated like 3 different times. I ended up over here.
Oh, you were in the middle of a meeting?
I had the room set up and all my coffees made, and people were walking in with, you know how they bring their carts with all the breakfast, and so we set the breakfast up 2 different places at least.
Yeah. So I mean, so all what Brian said, and then also to, I think both he and Shannon, who were immediately, they got on site, and then we learned some different things. We were trying to coordinate things from central office, and then Kim, for, you know, the person who always is able to kind of create a nice communication under duress and get it out quickly, I think was awesome. So I just wanted to pile on to what Brian said.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Kogan.
I'm gonna, kind of, a little bit, I just want to say something about that. There are districts who do not have a communications director, and I do not even know how they survive.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's another role. Between Emis and Kim, I'd give up my salary if we were going to lose either one of those and be like, all right, listen, I'll take a pay cut, let's keep them. Just saying that, just room it.
We're not going to hold you to that, but we understand that, like,
What I really meant,
important
you know?
it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, seriously, Kim's great. She does it really quick and gets that stuff out, and I just can't imagine like if you didn't have someone to do that.
Yeah.
And run that, be the point person on that. For me, I was just gonna mention, obviously, tomorrow is a professional development day. And so some of our buildings, we were talking kind of before the board came back, but I just wanted to let everybody know. We have a professional development day this year on our calendar in January and in February. Historically, we did not ever have one in January. It was usually our February one. And that was what was called a Records Day. A Records Day is a day where, we've always had one of those, it's a day where the staff would come in, but they could just work in their classrooms, they could grade papers, they could catch up on things that they need to do in their classroom. It was a day where principals didn't schedule meetings, they didn't have to go through formal professional development. Because we had both January and February, the principals asked, do you think we could choose by building which day we want to use as a Records Day, and then do the other day as Professional Development Day? Because some of our buildings are in trimesters, so February works better for them. And then some of them, it's more that they're on semesters, and January works better. So just to let you know, tomorrow, OFIS and the high school will be on a staff Records Day. So their teachers will just be coming in and working in their classrooms, and then in February they'll be on a Professional Development Day. And then tomorrow ECC falls, and the middle school will have scheduled professional development for their teachers tomorrow. So just in case that comes up. That's all I have. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Mrs. Kogan. Brett?
We talked a little bit last month about the November submission on the 5-year forecast, and once we approved that and submitted that, then we go back in to the forecast analytical software that we have, and we update those changes in there so that we're able to manage and monitor cash flow, you know, actual versus what we anticipated each month date to be. So we've accomplished that. The software is now updated. This fiscal year to date has our anticipated annual revenue, which looks at what we've received actual through December, and then what we estimate to receive through the end of the year to be $50.9 million. Our expenses are running slightly ahead of plan at $50.2 million. Our projected ending cash balance now is $10.9 We have, in our November filing that we sent in, we anticipated our cash balance to be $11 million. So we're, 10.9, 11 million, we're pretty doggone close with at the halfway point of the year. So I'm happy with where we are compared to where we thought we would be at this time. We ended December 2023 with a general fund cash balance of 8.9 million. For the same period last year, our cash balance was 8.3 million. So we picked up a little bit on that end, and I'm pleased with that. December is typically our lowest cash position of the fiscal year. We start receiving now in January advances on our real estate tax collections, which, by the time we're done receiving those, I think the last one we post will be the 1st of March, and then that's going to be the one, that's going to get us through the end of the year. We dread December, and then we're happy again the 1st of January. So Cuyahoga County gives us 2 advances, and then your final settlement. Lorraine County usually gives me 1 advance and a final settlement too. Theirs isn't quite as big as ours. Bus fleet update. Last we talked, I think we said we had 6 units that were still pending, ordered, not received. This week we've received 3 of those. The 4th unit is to be here tomorrow. So that's the 4 that we've been working with, I think, since October. And they finally came through. The other 2 that we have...
They come with driver's bread?
They're sitting there looking pretty, yeah. So the other 2, we anticipate having those late spring, early summer, but definitely before the start of the next school year. So I think Cardinal, we had a nice conversation with them earlier this week. Of course, they called to let us know they were coming. They knew that would make us happy, which it did. And Heath and Sean have been working hard trying to see what other options may we have. Is it the style of bus? Is it the accessories? And I think it's really the engine style is what it comes down to, that will allow them to get these buses a little more timely going forward. We're used to seeing about, 120 to 180 days on the bus build, and this was 20 months.
Yeah.
So, COVID played, a key in that disruption. But we're getting close to where we want to be. Gap conversion is completed. We did end up filing an extension on that, and we got it filed by the end of December. There were some requirement changes with Gap this year, and we had also switched our capital asset inventory system, and there was a lot involved with that in getting the Gap records to reflect accurately what we had. So Gap is done. Was that you?
When we start to talk about Gap and everything else, Siri just kind of lost in the sky. It's like, what is that?
So now that Gap's done, the state audit had kind of paused because they need that final Gap report. That's what they're really looking at. So they're roughing us up on narratives and controls and fraud identification and all that good stuff. And now it's a matter of, okay, now we got your report. Let's see where you came up with those numbers at. So hopefully here in the next 60 days, I hope we can put that crew to bed too. Calendar year end, always a fun time, but we survived. We got through it. W-2s were released today. So if you look in your EAC there, if you guys have trouble, I think we had some login issues last year with some folks. Feel free to call. We can print them, mail them, email them, whatever works for you. On that topic, though, Mr. Zeller found that Meta or Power Schools has an app, a mobile app for your phone that is similar to the EAC. Actually, I think it looks better than the data you get out there on the EAC. So with this email I'm going to send out announcing W-2s are there, the EAC, Brian's put together a nice clip of, hey, if you're a mobile app kind of person, here's the link. And
from the moment I found it on the App Store to installing it and opening it on my phone, it took 2 minutes. And I'm not like super techie guy, so, and I was forgetting my password for a moment. First entrance, so, it's an awesome.
It is very easy to navigate, and I think our staff, with the experience that they've been through recently, and Time Clock Plus, and that system being on your phone as well, they'll adapt to that, I think, real quickly. So that's good. Any questions? That's all I got.
So for the buses, this is just a procedural thing. So I assume they're ready to just go right on the road right now because they came from Cardinal, they're painted and everything. And
yeah, they're numbered, painted. So now it's a matter of scheduling the state highway patrol to come out. There's an inspection that they go
so
through.
not quite, but yeah.
I would say they were scheduled actually to come out Tuesday, but they had dropped 1 or 2 buses off, but didn't have the titles, and the title is part of the inspection. The titles are delayed because they have to file liens on those, so they send them out to the county and then bring them over to us when they get it done. I would hope next week, though, that they'll be inspected and active.
Just out of curiosity, what do you do this? I assume we're taking buses off. Like, what do we trade? Do we get any sort of value for?
We did.
Well, trade anything?
We didn't.
I assume they're not very much the ones we're taking off.
Now these 4, we did have to take 4 out of service with this group that came, because that was part of the ODE grant.
Okay.
So we have to take them out of the active fleet. They can be used as spares.
Okay.
And I think that's their plan for these. We didn't dispose of them.
Okay.
With this round. But when we do, yeah, you don't get much for them. You're going to get $1,500, $2,000 maybe.
We have in the past, Justin, like sold what we could, but it's not much.
Yeah, there's just curiosity.
Looking for a tailgate bus?
I was just going to say,
I
yeah.
have a guilty pleasure of like self-made RVs on Instagram, and so there are a lot of what they call schoolies on there. So
Schoolies?
It's not for me. Yeah. School bus
You
converted
know too
RVs.
much of the history.
We're going to see what it's
You wouldn't want to put all that money into one of these buses either. I mean, these have been driven hard.
Oh,
Yeah. The whole box.
There's a lot of outfits out there too, for example, in the agricultural community. If you go out Willard Way, for example, a lot of migrant workers that come up through that area and then move as the seasons change and so on. But they'll buy those buses up and they'll move their crews from
place to place. Interesting.
Any other questions for Brett?
I have one question. What is the total number of buses now?
Where's Heathland?
It's in the 30s, right?
Is it 32?
That are active, like the day-to-day buses?
It might be 37.
I know, Kim and Heath
It's
were
in
just
my report.
working on that.
Give me
yeah.
1 minute.
And then Kelly was going to donate part of her salary to Kim.
So Sean and Keith have this
Run a
chart
little bit
that-
more into
that
your bottom line.
tracks all of that, when the bus came online, and when it's
Kelly,
gonna be
that's a-
phased out for everything. Yeah, so that's something I think that we can get you, not only the number, but you can see the level of detail as far as how they're tracked.
To do that, you'll need to be online.
Yeah.
That's true. It's not that.
Listen, Brett, my theory always says, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't either. We're one of the
32 buses.
Brett was right.
Nice.
Is it 32?
Yeah, you're right, Brett.
Go on a game show or something.
I'll see you guys.
I'm out.
Part of Kelly's salary goes to you now, too.
Right.
He's giving it away.
Can't live without you either.
Any other questions for Brett? Thank you, Brett. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Lloyd.
Appreciate that. Thank you for that. First, just a thanks to Mark Kurz and his middle school staff for that presentation. Is they're kind of talking, Kelly, I'm texting Kelly, and I'm just like, and Mark, you guys had mentioned like the different things that we've worked on over the years and how things have kind of come full circle, where now everything is sort of like coherent and integrated, with design and with student voice, and then with the benefits-based accountability stuff. Relationships are at the core of everything that we do, right? I mean, in industry, it's at the core of that as well, but when your sort of clients are kids, it's so important to do that. And I think that really serves as sort of like the fuel and the gas for inspiring and empowering kids. And you guys have really just hyper-spaced over the last 12 months with how you're engaging kids. And I'm just really proud of you and inspired by that. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing that to us tonight, because it was just such a cool feeling to see all that come together. So I had to say that.
It sounds like Shangri-La over there, so.
I mean, there's so many cool stories.
It really did, it's like, I want to go there.
But if you know, the fact is, I know I'm a broken record with like standardized tests and stuff, but if you're drilling and killing kids on those scores and stuff, like, you lose the opportunity for that level of engagement and things. And it's interesting, the book that you showed, Mike Lubenfeld is a good friend of mine. He's a superintendent in Chicago. Yeah, I have to talk to you later about him. I didn't realize that that's the book that you were taking a look at, so that's cool. Julianne Allen, I just want to kind of give a plug for her and some of the things that she's doing. She's working with Dr. Knight on a parent series that will start on the 31st of January and go from 6 to 7:30. So we're working on content for that. Really, we're looking at a 3-part kind of series. But she is really passionate about that and is working closely with Dr. Knight on that. The other thing that she's doing, and again, she's our family and community engagement specialist, and we use the wellness dollars that comes from the budget, the governor's budget. It's earmarked specifically for that, and we use those funds to pay for that position. She's meeting with each principal and talking about developing strategies to more formatively engage parents and families. And she's doing that with each one of them, and I'm getting kind of involved in those emails, obviously, because it's in her goals, and it's also in the principal's goals as well. And so some of those things we're going to share with you, because it really is a cool thing. The board office discussion is on a later part of the agenda, so I guess I'm going to chime in. I'm sure that you guys may or may not talk about that, but that's all I have. Anything else, I can certainly answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, we will talk about the board office, but other than that, does anybody have any questions?
Cool.
Thank you, Dr. Lloyd. Yeah. Moving on to the hearing of the public, I don't think we have anybody. There was a full room a few minutes ago, Matt. You could have hid in the back, but now we're just going to ask you if you want to say anything. So. Moving on to item 9, which is our consent agenda. I'll accept a motion for approval of the items in consent agenda, categories 9 through 11.
So moved. I just have one question. Do I have to, part of the consent agenda is approving me as Polaro School Board member? Is it okay that I vote on that? Or
You can vote for yourself.
Yeah.
Always.
All right, I'm just double checking.
Absolutely.
It always
Should
feels a
vote for
little
yourself.
weird.
Good question.
It feels a little weird.
Just can't vote twice.
Oh, and here I was thinking that.
Motion from Mrs. Newman,
Second.
seconded Mr. Funk. Any discussion on any item in the consent agenda? No? Okay, Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Ms. Reckenroth?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to item 13A, the aforementioned board office. I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go on Facebook, but I know that there's a lot of people that do. A lot of people who talk about different sorts of things that we could do or that we couldn't do. And I mean, for those that have been here for a while, I've been here, this is my 18th year now. It's either 18 or 19. And I've been in that board office from the word go. There were people there prior to me, because I think we've been in there for 22 years. And it was supposed to be a temporary placement and a place to work as the school district was under financial takeover by the state of Ohio. And so they forced us in there. I wasn't in the school district at that point, but came in shortly thereafter. But it is, it is not an efficient workplace. I think that there are a lot of different issues with it. And so the opportunity came just talking with the new economic development director that through a conversation that Mr. Robson and I were part of. And he indicated that there was a group, a piece of property down there, they were looking to develop it. And so at that point, we kind of got into a conversation with them about it. That then we came back to the board and we had several different conversations with you. I don't want to steal all your thunder, Mrs. Newman, but you know, I've been part of this school district for the past 18 years. And for the past 18 years, all the boards that I've dealt with, and there have been several different members that have cycled through, we've always talked about the board office and what we're going to do. We've looked at the middle school. We looked at a piece of property that was in Olmsted Falls that was on the railroad tracks, so taking a look at that. We've looked at everything. The problem is that this community, we're not Berea, we're not Fairview, we're not places like that that have strip malls and things like that where people leave. And so there's really no options that we have. So again, back to that conversation where the opportunity came, we thought, okay, this could be an option for us. And so as we further kind of explored that, it continued to develop. I think, and I said this to the PTA today, I think different people have different philosophies on how you should spend money. And I think I'll use the sort of the example of a car. Some people buy cars, some people rent cars, you know, lease cars. Some people feel that if you're not buying it, at the end of it, you know, you don't have anything to show for it, so to speak. I've done both. I've bought, I mean, I own my current car, I'm purchasing it. But I've also leased cars before as well. The space that we need is somewhere between 9,000 to 10,000 square feet. That's kind of like the average of after talking with the architect, with the 20-some people that exist within the board office and who work there. So it's not the board members that are going to work in the board office. It's the administration and all the support staff that help make the district run on the operational side of things that are going to live there. And there just simply isn't enough space. And so, you know, if we were to build ourselves, and Brett and I talked about that, and we've talked to you about that as well, that's $490 a square foot. If you multiply 490 times 9,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet, you're going to get a very large number, somewhere around 4.5 or north of that $1 million, of which all of us sitting around this table know that we are not sitting on $4.5 million. We're just going to pull out of the general fund and build a board office. I mean, that would be reckless and be dumb, quite honestly. So for those that are saying that, you know, that a board office could be built for, I've seen numbers forwarded to me for $1.5 million or $2 million, it's absurd to say that. And for somebody to say that means that they don't really know what they're talking about, and they don't know much about school finance. And so we came to the conclusion that a rental would be the way to go. And we have a group that we've worked with that is going to design that space for us, and we're going to rent it. We're not going to own it. It's not our HVAC unit if it breaks down. It's not our plumbing if it gets clogged. So we think that it's wiser for us to do that, and the time is right. And so that's the reason why, as you know, that we've brought this LOI to you. And after talking with both Phil and Holly, peeled it off the consent agenda. That way the board could address it directly and have a discussion about it as well. But I've said to people, I'm not going to be apologetic for trying to get my staff out of that building because it's damn well time that we get out of that building. So that's my story. So I just wanted to say that and defer to anybody else who wants to ask any questions or talk about it or whatever may happen to be.
I'm glad you made the point that the term board office obviously is somewhat of a misnomer.
It is, right. It's the administrative building.
We will hold our board meetings there.
We'll have space.
You know, twice a month, but
we'll have
that's
space for that.
0.01% of the time it's going to be used is for us. So
right.
the people in your administration that we sit here every month or every meeting and say how good of a job they're doing are forced to work in conditions that I wouldn't ever work in.
I mean, yeah.
It's awful. So that's a no-brainer. How about the questions that come up about why don't we have existing space somewhere else? Why can't we pull this off in the ECC? Why can't we pull this off? This is a big building. Why can't we pull it off here?
Yeah, we don't have enough space as it is here to begin with, right? And so, one of the things I would say is if you look at the ECC, the after-school program is no longer there. So let's pretend, you could kick out people and things. I mean, Westlake Board of Education exists at Hilliard Elementary School. Avon's Board of Education is in their former primary building. And it may come down the road somewhere, 10, 15 years from now, that there's an open school building in Olmsted Falls City Schools that would then have whoever is in charge at that point to approach the people who we have the lease with to say, hey, you know what, we have this space over here that we'd like to move into. We've been here for 10 years. We've been good tenants, and now we'd like to leave. So that can happen. You can break a lease with mutual agreement, but we have 100 preschool kids. We're adding a new preschool program. Right now, we're trying to find a teacher for that. We're moving people out of classrooms that they're in so we could create a classroom space. So there's not classroom space anywhere within the school district to put, you can't find 9,000 square feet or 9,222 square feet all in one space.
There never was. I mean, this is, Dr. Lloyd's right. This has been a discussion since I've been on the board for 10 years. And, other people sat in these seats and had these discussions. And it's always been on the list of things that we need to address. And there were times that we addressed other things and found creative ways to fund that. And it's always fell to the bottom, right? And now it's to a point where it can't fall to the bottom anymore. And it needs to be at the top because it's never fallen off the list. It's always gone to the bottom. Well, now it needs to be at the top. And there was never a discussion of, we'll make space somewhere else. That's not the intention. The intention is to have a space that's big enough to bring everybody that belongs into a central administrative office, bring those people in. Right now, they're scattered all over the district, in cubby holes and closets of every building. And so if we're finally going to do this and devote resources to it, then it needs to be done with the proper intention.
I would also add that the budget could withstand a $4.6 million bill, and as I said, that's just ludicrous to even do that. But it can absorb a $230,000 expense for a lease. I mean, it can do that. So by engaging in this lease, it's not going to pull the need for an operating levy in anytime sooner. It's not going to have an impact on negotiations should there be any sort of raise or whatever that's there. And we've been talking about that as well. I think that it's and to Holly's point, the board office was always part of the master facilities plan, and the master facilities plan is done, but it's over, right? So we're making a new one, and the board office never got touched. We have needs that are more than the board office for sure. I mean, we have a transportation department that we're going to have to address, and that's a $7 to $8 million expense for those that are on a facilities committee. They know that, and so there's not any place to lease a space for transportation. That's something you're going to probably have to design and build, and it's going to have to be part of an overall facilities project. So we think by peeling off the board office and handling that separately, the facilities group can really take a look at what are we going to do with our transportation garage, along with addressing any new construction that we might want to do with, at the elementary level, probably, because those are our oldest buildings, or really what kind of renovation work might we we want to do. The board office is an easy thing to peel away and simply rent. When I worked in this school district to start with in 1994, 95, we rented space at the Dairy Pack, was what it was called then, on Maple Way, and so we were there. We've rented space, quite honestly, I think at one point in the city of Berea. I think the board office was in Berea at one particular point. So it's not out of, you know, crazy to rent space.
We've just been having these conversations
somewhere. So,
for years.
right, we've kicked the can around for 20 years, and so it's,
We talked about adding on to the current.
did that too, it's not ADA compliant too.
But that conversation we had probably 7 years ago.
Right.
And since then, we probably, I believe we've added even more employees.
Yeah, more people have
into
come in, yeah.
the space. And at that time, we were even speculating, could we add on to it? I mean, again, we've gone round and round on all different ways to manage this and to change it.
I mean, in an ideal world, we would be further along on the master's facility plan of where we were gonna go, and if we would have a decision there about what we're doing with Falls Lennox, what's that gonna be with ECC, but we're not.
Yeah, we're not gonna rush that, we can't rush
We
that.
can't rush
That has to be
that
engaged
far down.
process.
It would just kick the can more.
You won't see any finished construction for any project for probably about 4 to 5 years,
Yeah.
I think, because you're gonna
And-
have to engage for 18 months, 2 years, and then you're gonna plan to build, and then depending upon what you're gonna do there,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a while to do that.
And my personal opinion, that
And you
board
need money,
office
got a
is,
campaign, so.
that board office is horrible.
Yeah, well, we certainly think so.
I mean, it's
so.
horrible. I can't, you know, as somebody who used to work in the professional world, I can't imagine that. I mean, I remember doing job interviews where I thought the walls were too gray and I didn't take the job, you know? So, where I was gonna have to sit first. So.
They didn't show me what the central office looked like before I was
So,
hired 18 years ago, I will say that.
I don't think it
didn't
provides
see it
a
either.
safe work
You
environment.
go to the restroom.
I don't think it,
Well, you were there.
it's long overdue being addressed.
Well, and you know, I know that some people, we've talked about this a little bit, you know, what the transportation folks might say, because their facility is not all that great either, and you know, that is going to be addressed in the facilities plan, but you know, we work there from a lot of, I don't come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I will readily admit that, but people work from 7:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night. The person who works in the transportation garage parks their car, comes in, other than the 5 that are in there for, you know, who work in the garage, they're on their bus, and then they go to the break room, and then they're on their bus and they go home. We work there year-round, and there's more of us, so at this particular point in time, I think that's another reason why. You know, people, and you can always say, well, what about this, or what about that, what about me? But the people at central office are the administrators and the support staff who help run the school district, and they're valuable too, and they matter. And I think it's important that they get a spot and space in order to do their work and to do it efficiently. So there's that.
So to your point about buses, I mean, buses are kind of their office too.
That is, it's a traveling office, right? I mean, it is, I know.
And the bus
Yeah.
garage is not, it is a priority of the board as well.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
right, but it's a
Again,
bill.
that's all we.
It's a $7 to $8 million,
Yeah, that's a
you know.
bill, and that's,
Yeah.
and I would encourage anyone who has strong opinions about this, then, I mean, the school's gonna be doing community engagement, and they
Sure.
should come out, and they should tell us what they think.
It's just interesting that people love to be keyboard warriors and stay at home and write all different kinds of things, but whenever we have a board meeting to talk about this, we appreciate you being here, Matt. Thanks for coming out. We hope the word gets out. So,
All right,
nobody
well,
comes.
On the agenda is approval of a letter of intent between the district and the Carnegie folks to get started. So I'll accept the motion for approval of that letter of intent.
Second.
Mr. Robson, when you are ready.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Newman,
Yes.
and Mr. Eckenhoff.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
motion carries. Thank you to you and Brett for all the work
Yeah.
you put into
Yeah, that was a lot.
getting us there.
We squeeze another dollar.
I
I know it's not the sexiest thing, and you,
Yes.
Yeah.
If I could just kind of repeat what Dr. Lloyd said, it doesn't bring about the need for the operate by any sooner than what we're already going to go for. So when we do come back for that, know that
Be a little smaller.
if we did this or not, right, we have to come back at some point and ask for some operating money. So that doesn't change.
Yeah, that's planning that this board is gonna need to do, obviously, but, you know, at a work session in February and in March probably.
I think it was what, 2020, when the last one was passed, we started collecting that.
The COVID levy, yeah. The operating levy was.
And I think you knew back then as well that this is like a 3, 4, 5-year district here when it comes to, because the state, with the funding formula that's in place right now, they view us as a wealthy district. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't
the
know
days
what
of not going to the voters, or going to them every decade and hitting them with a haymaker, you know, that's what Chris Moore indicated as far as his fiscal advice. You can't do that.
Right.
So you need to engage with them and talk to them about what's that cycle every 5, 6 years for something smaller. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys. We have a work session currently scheduled for February 1st. I know that Mrs. Walker has indicated that she can't be here. There is a fairly time-sensitive matter that does need to be addressed in executive session at a work session sooner rather than later, very sooner. So should we try to doodle it, or should we?
I think, because of that 15th, on the meeting on the 15th, we want to stick with contractual kinds of things. I think if you want to talk about
2 weeks from now.
I am gone, I leave the 29th that Monday and I return Friday the 2nd. And literally, that's like the only issue I have for probably the next 5 months.
No, it happens, it's okay. I'm just trying to think as far as, we have that date on the 15th of February where I want to get some things in front of you for approval that are important and related to finances and stuff, and we got to talk a little bit about how everything sort of fits together from a contractual standpoint.
2 weeks from that.
I mean, we could get together sometime that week of the 5th, it really is the week of the 4th, but the 5th through the 9th? Oh, crap, I wonder if I'm here. One second. Yeah, I'm not going to be here for that.
What?
When are you back?
I'm back the 2nd.
I'm at a conference.
I'm just gone now.
I'm out of town. The 5th through...
What about the 20, what, 2 weeks?
January 25th, 2 weeks from
January
today.
25th.
So we still have January.
Like I said, that
I'm
week is my only conflict
January
forever.
25th one?
January 25th, 2 weeks from today.
I'm good.
I mean, we usually meet every other
Yeah,
day.
every
Yeah, we
in
help.
the regular schedule.
I'm in.
Yeah.
6 o'clock, January 25th?
January
Yep.
25th.
Okay.
Instead of February 1st. Right.
That's right.
Brent, are you going to mention that to Deb and get this? Okay.
So for the public's benefit, our anticipation is that we will only be meeting in executive session for that work session for one item only, and we will not take any action outside of executive session.
Might I
That's it,
also
right?
suggest, and it doesn't have to happen, but something to keep on the board's radar is mid-year touch point with the superintendent and treasurer and.
Yeah, Val stuff, right?
Yeah, evaluation stuff, and that might be an opportunity to bang out one of them, or not, but it's up to you. So, just,
The item that will be in executive session discussed on the 25th will be preparing for conducting and reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
let's notice it as that for now, and then between now and within enough time prior
Yeah.
to the 25th, we want to add
Yeah,
that
which
we
would
will
be,
be
which that,
conducting.
that would be a number one,
Yeah.
if we choose to do that.
January 25th,
6 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Justin, were you late?
You told me not to run last time, so I walked in and I was like, I should run, I'm like, oh, no, I can make it.
And then we
You're
have
a
our,
football player, you can do it.
and then we have our regular meetings still on for the 15th of February. Is there any general discussion of the board?
Nice job, Mr.
Thank you. Big shoes to fill.
No, not at all.
Big shoes to fill.
Stop.
Probably literal actual shoes, because he probably has small feet. You're short. Metaphorical big shoes. We will not be having any executive session tonight, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting at 8:18.
Go Bob.
So moved.
Yay! I second it.